is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to the Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse, hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, is the founder and publisher of Unwinnable. Surprise, surprise, he's got more books to talk about, Stu Horvath.
That's me.
Yeah, man, how's it going?
Pretty good. It's funny. We sort of forgot to record last week.
Oh my God, we flaked so hard.
I just was convinced that Wednesday was Tuesday, and we had more time. And then you were like, then it was Thursday, and I knew it was Thursday. And then you were just like, did we forget to record? I was like, I think we did. Oh, well. But now I'm sick this week, so I had to like crawl out. So part of my voice is really what I'm getting at. Maybe I sound... Well, I was going to say maybe I sound like more mysterious or something, but then I just coughed. So sorry about that.
It's crazy too, because the way I remembered, Sally and I were driving up to Connecticut to go to ShireCon, and just want to say a quick shout out to Tom for another amazing year of ShireCon. But on the way up, I had that like Home Alone, like Kevin moment where I was like, I was in the car, Sally was driving, I was being a passenger princess, and I was sitting there and I was kind of dozing off, and I was like, and all day as we're leaving, like, I'm like, did I forget something? I forgot something. I didn't do something I needed to do before I left, which is, when you're leaving for a trip, even a short one, is always like such a harrowing thing, because you're like, you're going to remember the thing that was super important that you needed to do or meant to bring, and then it's going to be like, well, I'm 3 hours away. And so, yeah, I was dozing off in the car, and I was like, we forgot to record. And so I was like, did we forget? Am I gaslighting myself? Did we record this week or no? And you're like, nah, we flaked. And I was like, whatever, it's fine. But, I will say this. I cannot speak enough about going to smaller conventions. If you are in the hobby, it is a great way to get the experience of like being able to try out a lot of different games, being able to make new friends, meet new people, and also have it while you're in a place that doesn't have those harsh fluorescent lights in the sterileness of convention halls and like, big venues and whatever. Because that's, one of the things I really appreciate about what Tom does at ShireCon, which takes place in UK and Connecticut. It's at a VFW hall. I probably talked about this last year. I'll talk about it every year because it's a really good time. It's a VFW hall. It's got multiple levels and 3 bars, an outdoor area for like picnicking and hanging out. There's a band shell. They have a kitchen there that's outside, which is banging. They serve some of the best cheesesteaks I've ever had there, but the food is great. The games are great. The people are great. It's a cool place to kind of hang out and catch up with your friends, feeling like you're kind of in someone's basement or something really small and intimate, but at the same time, you did drive 3 hours to get there. So I really can't recommend that enough. I was also hanging out with Brian from Arcade Sword Press, and we were talking about his upcoming convention, Arcane Con, November 7th and 8th, 2005. It is friggin' awesome. It is a true celebration of tabletop gaming. It's in Western Massachusetts, and it features so many different games. I can't even begin to list them, but you got WHPA, you got Karen, you got Old School Essentials, Flames of Orion, Necromunda, Magic from like 93, 94, Mouse Ritter, Forbidden Lands, and so much more. It's going to be a really great time. It's a really good hang, and the dudes who put it on are super sweet and super cool. And I really recommend anytime you get to a smaller convention, you want to go out and do that. So Arcane Con, November 7th and 8th.
Maybe we should finally we've threatened to do something locally
for years.
Do that. I know. The thing is that I got this spot where I do Geek Fleet 26 coming up in November 22nd, if you don't feel like going to PAX Unplugged. And I do one in the spring and I do one in the fall, which are the cool times. It's too cold in the winter, and who wants to go to a convention in the winter, really, with snow and, could mess up your travel. And so like the prime time is summer, but they don't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
But they might have air conditioning. They might put air conditioning in, which would be a game changer. But maybe we should look into doing something in the spring. Or it's not like Geek Flea where like you have to have like 1,000 people go through the place and it gets hot. Be like 300 people or something, right? Like, I don't know. How many people were at ShireCon, do you think?
I don't even know, because this year it was 2 full days. And so and it was gorgeous outside too. So it
Mm.
was like people were constantly in and out, and like it wasn't. And they expanded the gaming area to like 2 full rooms with less vendors and some vendors outside too, because it was again gorgeous out. So it was kind of hard to say, but there was a lot of people there, like a lot
Yeah.
of people. But yeah, man. I mean, if you know, dear listener, if you would like to see that happen, definitely let us know in the comments of the show. Definitely let us know on Instagram or social media. I mean, we've been literally dancing around this now. We started talking about this like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, maybe we should. Yeah, well, let's talk about it next year. We've been kicking the can down the line. But yeah, if they have air conditioning there, you know, as a person who's been going to the Geek Flea now for as long as you've been throwing it, it really is like the perfect place for a small convention. Plus, there's like tons of places to stay in the area, a absolute shit ton of great places to eat
Yeah.
before and after the Flea. Plus, the church ladies make burgers and dogs and other cool stuff and snacks and candies and cookies and not really candies, but cookies. And, you know, we got a hot sauce vendor. So.
Oh man, I could tell you so many awesome restaurants to eat in town for dinner.
Oh
So
yeah.
much good Peruvian food.
Oh my God. Sending them down to like, you know, down to Tejo, and like all the people there be like, what are all these weirdos doing here? Like this is not the normal crowd we have going in here. Do they know it's karaoke tonight? Like what's
Oh
going
man.
on? You know?
The only problem is it would have to be one day. We wouldn't be able to do it on Sunday because it's a church.
Oh yeah. I mean there is that. I mean we'd have to like, you know, set up a
Maybe
Friday
in the
night.
afternoon or the I don't know. We'll look into it. I'll talk that idea around.
I mean, like we're having a conversation in front of the whole crowd, but you know they've been with us for years, so they're in it. You know we could too. We could do like you know the setup Friday night, all day Saturday into Saturday night, and then like you know tell people to go support local restaurants in the morning and have brunch and make friends, and then come back for an afternoon of gaming after the church lets out. You know, so
That'd
like
be
as the people come out, like why is everyone wearing T-shirts with pentagrams on them?
That'd be an interesting time. Maybe they could just cancel. Well, you know God will understand, right?
Yeah, I mean, just knock it off
Take
at
a week
noon.
off. Yeah.
I mean, and I can't even be like you know, it's the summer, so I can be like it's football season. You know, like I've never encountered a priest who wasn't trying to be like, all right, guys, we got to wrap this up to the Giants are on, or you know, whatever. But yeah, it's something to swish around. If you think that'd be something you're interested in, hit us up. You know,
Yeah.
we'd have a good time, and you know, we'd bring in some pretty sweet people to hang out with and play games with. So
It's true.
we do know a few people in the hobby.
Oh man, yeah, that'd be really interesting.
But yeah, other than that, one more thing I want to talk about at the top of the show today because it's something I think is pretty sweet. Analog Union is something I just joined up with, and a bunch of other really cool creators have joined up with it as well. And what it is a way to kind of get off social media and stay in the know about what's going on in the hobby with some of your favorite creators. As you've heard me bemoan for years, like I'm really trying to paint my way out of the room on social media. And also, I don't feel like people are really connecting with the things I'm talking about on social media as well. No one's seeing my shit, and that's why Stu started a website. That's why I started a website. But Analog Union is a great newsletter. It's run by Jason of Solarian Games. It is a way to stay in the know and you know, find out more about what's going on with some of your favorite creators. We got Arcane Sword Press, Get Haunted, Ham and Egg, Planet X, Super Savage, Solarian, Severed Books, and Salt Heart so far, but we're going to be adding more people to the newsletter. So it really is a more bang for your buck newsletter, and I can't recommend it enough. Analogunion.com. Sign up there and start getting the newsletter every Monday or Tuesday. What is time anymore? We forgot to record next week. We clearly don't know what day it is, but yeah, beginning of every week on a Monday or a Tuesday, analogunion.com. All right, so what are we actually going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about a Call of Cthulhu scenario book called The Stars Are Right.
Okay.
Which came out in 1992, I think.
Oh, an oldie.
Yeah, 1992. It's one of the very few publications for the Cthulhu Now line.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so it's just modern Cthulhu, but it was called Cthulhu Now. And yeah, so the primary setting time period for Call of Cthulhu is the 1920s. And the vast majority of Chaosium's products for Call of Cthulhu are set in the 1920s. The second setting that they came out with was Gaslight, which is the Victorian era in England. which got some support, but not a ton of support. And then there's Cthulhu Now, which was the original rules were 1987, so it was Cthulhu 80s. And then in 1995, they came out with a 1990s handbook, which sort of updated the rules and the game's approach to technology. And in the middle there were only two publications that came out from Chaosium for Cthulhu Now. The campaign, 6 or 7 interlinked scenarios called At Your Door, almost all of which is very much keyed into sort of technology and weird science. And then there's this one, The Stars Are Right. I don't think that Chaosium has ever really figured out how to consistently do modern Call of Cthulhu in a way that is interesting and compelling. The Cthulhu Now rulebook is really mostly kind of obsessed with guns.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And it's obsessed with guns despite knowing that, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
like, okay, so you got, light anti-tank weapons. What's it going to do to Cthulhu? It's still going to regenerate. It's still going to smush you. You're still going to be too crazy to pull the trigger. It just didn't naturally, there was no, the 20s, the original Lovecraft circle of stories that make up the Cthulhu mythos, they were just, it's a better resource for the way that Chaosium was designing Call of Cthulhu games. And I don't think that it ever really gelled for them. However, I think that the modern setting really, really worked for a bunch of young whippersnappers in the 90s who formed Pagan Publishing, primarily John Tynes, and a long list of other folks. And ironically, the first issue of the Unspeakable Oath magazine, or zine, I guess you would call it, that came out was predominantly devoted to guns. So
I mean, I wonder if it's like a thing where like Empire Strikes Back, door opens up, shit, it's Vader, and Han just starts blasting, like knowing well that's not going to do the job, but like it probably made him feel better at least to try.
yeah. But Pagan Publishing was very interested in doing modern games. I mean, they did a lot of 1920 set stuff, but their whole ethos was they were a bunch of guys in I believe they started in the Midwest. They wound up in Portland eventually, or Seattle. They just were interested in they were 90s guys. Like they were interested in 90s music. They were going to clubs, seeing punk rock shows, industrial bands. They were interested in nightlife. There's a lot more of seedy nightlife elements and like what I would call street level horror in Pagan Publishing productions.
Right.
They still do 1920s stuff, but it all has this, it's a little bit grittier, it's a little bit edgier in that 90s edgy way. A lot more violent, a lot more sexual content, a lot more mature audiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always thought of it this way. Pagan Publishing is R-rated, and Call of Cthulhu really, waffles between PG and PG-13.
Oh, yeah.
You never really get an R-rated horror movie out of Call of Cthulhu.
I mean, like definitely like the 80s definition of PG-13.
Yeah.
But like nowhere close to like true R or hard R.
Yeah. So Stars Are Right represents sort of an acknowledgement. So like Call of Cthulhu folks, Chaosium folks were really excited about Pagan Publishing and the material that they were putting out. And there was just a natural cross-pollination between the two camps. When I was at Necronomicon in 1993 in Danvers, they were all hanging out together. And I was like on the edges of that, watching that happen. Like Keith Herber, who was the line editor, and John Tynes were just like talking, and like it was all their game. They all owned that game. And there was a lot of after the first couple issues of Unspeakable Oath came out, a lot of Chaosium writers went over to write material for Pagan to kind of get out their more hardline, edgier material. And The Stars Are Right sort of represents an attempt by Chaosium to do the same thing, bring sort of the Pagan Publishing aesthetic to Call of Cthulhu in what I don't want to use the term watered down, because I think that this is actually a pretty good scenario book, but it's just less. The volume is dialed down a bit, to make it potentially wind up in bookstores is really what it comes down to. But this is not without controversy, which is why I want to talk about this book. The scenarios are interesting. They're pretty good. I don't think that I think the first scenario is probably the one that is like the best. But we're gonna save that for last. Most of them have some component of weird science or technological stuff. Like one starts because like a guy who's excited about computer graphics gets killed by a mythos entity. There's a lot of psychologists. There's a big radio telescope features in one. They're good. They all paint a picture of sort of 90s concerns. The whole line, which again is two books, is At Your Door and Stars Are Right. The idea is basically that the end is near, that the old gods are going to return soon, and all of these scenarios are echoes of that imminent coming, which I think is that is very much a 90s game design and pop culture. Premillennial tension is a thing
Like
that,
every friggin' movie during
yeah.
that time period.
So I think it fits then, but I don't think it actually works very well overall for Call of Cthulhu. I just want to play horror scenarios that are set in the modern era, and they've done that periodically. Scritch Scratch, which is a one shot for free RPG Day from a couple years ago. It's just mythos stuff mixed with a little bit of British folk horror, with a cleaning crew instead of like detectives and typical 1920s stereotype investigators. And it really works. I like that because it's not worried about like, oh, cell phones. That's a horrible concept. How do we find that? How do we find the horror in cell phones and make it modern? It's just so very like the modernness is just so foregrounded in this stuff that I find it. They're not bad scenarios, but I just like just relax with the tech.
Yeah.
My second favorite scenario is kind of dumb, but I love it. It involves firefighters who worship Cthulhu, which is like essentially the god of fire, and they try and summon this big ball of fire that's like an outer god to like consume the city. It's so ridiculous. Like it's just so. I could see like a New Moon movie about this.
Oh yeah.
Just like firefighters worshiping a fire god is just like it's just so on the nose and so like but it actually works. I think that it's like it is sort of dumb, but in its dumbness it finds some interesting legs. It makes it just a really good session. My pick for the best is the one scenario that really is a street level horror. There's a murder, there's a punk rock band that might be involved in the murder. I mean, there's a horrible picture of a junkie like shooting up. It all winds up in a porn shop, a porn bookstore.
Well,
Yeah, no, like it's just like, and it's super seedy, and it all references a Ramsey Campbell story called Cold Print, which also features a porn bookstore, and a particular outer god that he created called Egolanak, which is a horrible thing that basically presents as a naked, obese, pale humanoid shape with no head. It's not explained, or if it lacks a head, if the head has been cut off, that like if there should be a wound at the neck, that's not really defined. But the real scary thing about Egolanak is that in the palms of its hands are toothy mouths.
Jesus Christ.
It's horrible. It's a great horror story. And this is sort of like riffing on that idea. It's a great scenario. I think that it is small in the way that all of the others try to be large, and I think that it stands out to me because of that. I think that it's a pretty great one shot, especially if your group can handle sort of mature themes.
But in fairness, most groups can't. Like so let's be real about this. Like I love the idea, but at one table someone's like, well, what kind of damage would a dildo do? Like it's an improvised weapon.
Yeah, no, I know. So, like I said before, there's a cross-pollination between the pagan camp and the Chaosium camp. And this book is completely illustrated by Blair Reynolds, who was basically the staple artist for pagan publications up to a certain point. I think in 1993 he stopped. He also did some other role-playing stuff. I was really surprised to see him in some Traveler books, and I've come across his stuff elsewhere. And it's always a real pleasure because he has a stippling style, and he's very realistic. I think that he used photo reference quite a bit. He was able to paint some really he was really good at the Cthulhu mythos and mixing sort of modern looking stuff, like a Tim Bradstreet kind of guy, but
Yeah.
like pulling in these horrible, cosmic touches. So he does the art, and there is this really great illustration of Igolanak with arms outstretched, chains hanging in the background and in front. And it cuts off right at sort of the navel. It's probably like the best illustration of this monster that I've ever seen. I don't know why I know this. I just recently looked through all of the Unspeakable Oaths trying to find the story. It might just have been told to me in 1993 in conversation at Necronomicon. If anybody does know if there's a printed source, I'd love to know. So tell me. But I know, and I knew then that image was cropped. There's a much larger illustration. It was really designed to be a full page illustration. And the folks at Chaosium were just like, it's too much. We can't run that. And they cropped it. I don't think that it was like a big deal. I think that they just sort of like the art director was just like, we can't do that. There's other stuff in here that is super, like I said, there's a picture. One of the other feature illustrations of this is a junkie shooting up. And it's like, it's probably the most horrible illustration of the book. They weren't afraid to go too far. They weren't afraid of the material. So there must have been something kind of like, and what happened is they released the art back to Pagan. Like I said, I don't think that my understanding is that this was all very friendly. It was just like, we can't use that piece of art. We're going to crop it. And then you can have this back. And they used it as the cover for a reprint anthology of material from Unspeakable Oath 1, 2, and 3 called Courting Madness. They did it in a zine style. It's got orange cardstock cover. And you can see the full illustration, which is Igolanak is actually manifesting in a back room that is a ritual space. There's a pentagram on the floor. There's a lot of detritus from sacrifice and just sort of seedy living. And there is an obese, naked woman basically directly in front of him on her knees in supplication. It's clearly a pose of worship to my eye anyway. But I could also see why you would think that maybe it was a sexual position.
Fair play.
Yeah, and I look at that illustration and it's just like, this is like horror out the wazoo, and I think it's a great illustration. But I also understand Chaosium's concerns for trimming it. What I have less sympathy for is that Pagan brings this zine to Gen Con 92. And TSR comes up to the table and is just like, you can't sell that here. That's obscene.
Well,
and it's just like, man, and there is an editorial in whatever the next Unspeakable Oath is about this, where John Tynes is just like, that is just such baloney, because they're selling so many things like babes of fantasy, calendars, scantily clad, chainmail bikinis and this, that, and they come over. There's no real nudity in the thing. It is a horrible image, but it's not obscene. But
what year was this?
92.
Oh, so it was almost about a decade before the Book of Vile Darkness.
Oh yeah. They made them basically bag the books and put duct tape over the woman so you couldn't see her butt. Oh my God, a butt.
A butt. Have you met Red Sonja?
Yeah.
Jesus
well, I
Christ.
think that part of it is just that it was it's not like a hot butt. So hot butts are allowed, but flabby butts can't have those.
Oh my God.
Even though probably the guy talking about it had a flabby ass. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that they had pins that said anti-censorship pins. And of course, word spread and the thing sold like hotcakes. It's very, very expensive on the secondary market.
So, maybe they did them a favor.
Yeah. I don't think that that's ever I think that's the good side effect. I don't think. I mean,
No, man, when your mom says, "No, you can't listen to that, Johnny," that stuff is bad. The first thing you're going to go out and do is try to get a bootleg copy of Appetite for Destruction. And then when you actually get in a copy of Appetite for Destruction, you open it up and you see that painting in the middle. You're
oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh, my mom can never see this."
yep,
But you know what I mean? Like, nothing like fetishizes something like saying you can't and you shouldn't.
yeah. Anyway, so that was sort of the trajectory of the whole thing, and I just think it's interesting. I think that, and having walked around Gen Con twice, I don't know. I don't think Courting Madness really is particularly noteworthy in that way. I think that I think that TSR was just being a little extra nervous about moms or whatever. This is a family establishment, but like, there's so many. Apparently, they also somebody had a guillotine.
Oh, I mean,
At the same time, they made them take it down, and it's just like,
yeah.
because it was Tyne says in the thing that it promoted death, and he's just like, "Are you kidding me? Your game is all about killing stuff."
Oh no, I mean, yeah. For me though, like as a person who had to like, one time go in and make sure that like no one was going to trip over on a power cable in a Costco, and there's like I can imagine like people are worried about like you got to be careful with people touching your blender, a guillotine like.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a functioning guillotine, but hey, you
I
never
mean,
know.
was it? Like you never know.
Yeah, but the bummer is that that was summer of '92, and in the fall of '93 issue of Unspeakable Oath, Tynes reports that Blair Reynolds basically was so demoralized by a bunch of, he's non-specific. And again, I think that I know this because it was told to me at the convention. I can't find any kind of other confirmation, but I think that in my head canon is that he was already kind of like upset with what happened with Chaosium, and then the Gen Con thing just demoralized him to the point where he quit making art. He eventually
Oh,
came back and did some other stuff for he did some very erotically charged horror Cthulhu's like narrative art books, which are really cool. I don't particularly like them because they're a little bit too like, I don't know what's going on here. But his art, the level of skill is far beyond what he was doing back in the '90s. But anyway, it's a bummer because he was a fantastic artist, and it would have been nice to have him with Pagan and back in Cthulhu, or like even just like when Delta Green became more of like a, when it became its own system, it would have been cool to have Blair's art in there. A lot of the new art kind of references Blair in really nice ways, but it was a loss to the hobby.
yeah. I mean, it's hard when someone crushes your artistic dreams and hopes and like you know shames you about the creations that you make. It's not
Yeah.
not ideal. Now, speaking of Delta Green, which is funny for me on a lot of levels today. They also have guns in Delta Green, though, right?
Oh yeah, well that's the interesting thing is that Pagan eventually puts out a modern source book that is Delta Green, and
Right.
and basically takes all of the modern stuff that Chaosium sort of didn't really know how to do properly and makes something super duper compelling that involves guns.
Yeah.
And law enforcement, and the way that law enforcement and military folks are just completely unprepared for dealing with outer threats, and like that's the central theme of the game. It's like, oh, you think that guns are going to help? We got news for you. This is going to destroy you and your family. And it's a brilliant game, and it stands on its own. But I do think that if you dig deep enough, the original Cthulhu Now rules are like the bedrock foundation that Delta Green is built upon.
It's funny, man, because we're talking about ShireCon. I ran the Hotel Exodus 320 RPG thing. Me and Geo co-wrote together, and it's a horror game. It veers closer to R. But one of the players at my table was a kid, and like they saddled up. And shout out to them. I'm not going to mention their name because they're a kid, but they saddled up to the table, and I'm looking at them. And they're wearing a Cthulhu Mythos T-shirt, whatever, and I'm like, bro, I'm about to run a game for like a kid, and I was like, hey, so. I was like, hey, that's very cool. Thanks for coming play the game. I was like, what kind of games you like to normally play? I was like, have you played this game before? Like, no. I was like, what kind of games do you like to play? He's like, well, primarily I play Delta Green. And I was like, oh, and I was like, do you mind asking me if I ask you, would you think it rude if I asked how old you were? Like, I'm 13. And I'm like, okay, no matter what happens in this game, you're fine. And then, like, halfway through, like, wow, it's a lot of fun, but it's not anywhere near as deadly as Delta Green. Like, oh man, trust me, it gets a lot more deadly as you go. Like, you're the first half of the game, and then later on, I was like, so what'd you think? Like, oh yeah, still nowhere near as deadly as Delta Green, but I had a good time, And it's just so funny that, like, when you think about games like a game like a Delta Green, which is like every Barnes and Nobles is different, but you can go to Barnes and Nobles, you can find Chaosium books, you can find Call of Cthulhu books, but, like, for a kid who was like, the age, most of my friends were, or like right around it when they first started getting into Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, to already be like living, life in the fast lane playing Delta Green, that's pretty impressive, man.
I mean, like, so my first issue of Unspeakable Oath was number 5, and that was 1992, and I would have been 14 years old. So and like, I'm pretty sure there's boobs on the cover, and there's a whole lot of, like, really gnarly body part illustrations, like of severed or chewed on. I was eating that stuff up in like, it was just like I want to know more about this horrible stuff that's happening, and, like, I couldn't get enough of it. And, like, I was already, like, mainlining Call of Cthulhu, and then I discovered, however, I don't even know how I found Pagan Publishing, to be honest, but I did, and it was that same thing. It was like I knew. It was the same thing as, like, getting my parents to buy me Appetite for Destruction, knowing that there was so many curse words in that album. Like, it was just that forbidden, dangerous thing, and I didn't care if it was, like, appropriate. Like, I ate it up,
Yeah, man.
and now I look back at it and I'm just like, oh man, this is super 90s edgy. Like, I would have dialed, like, I think. Like, I look back and I'm just like, I would have dialed some of this back a little bit. It doesn't need to be this much.
Yeah, I mean, you probably found out about it the old-fashioned way, which was, like, back then every book had ads in it for something else. Or every magazine had ads, like. Jesus, like, you remember, like, back when you used to buy, like, punk albums, like, oh, here's the SST catalog inside the, crammed inside the vinyl case or the CD jewel case. Like, please buy more of our shit.
I have to look around and sort of, I'm actually genuinely interested in this, because I was the one who was leading the charge with Call of Cthulhu at that point. Like nobody else was as interested in it as me. So I'm definitely, I found the Unspeakable Oath somehow. Whether that, I don't know if they advertised in Dragon Magazine, or if Dragon Magazine would allow that kind of advertisement. There might have been, like, something in a Chaosium catalog as a licensee that maybe caught my eye. But I definitely knew about them before Necronomicon in '93, and I don't think that they had, like, diamond distribution, which is a way that is how I got most of my Call of Cthulhu books, through the comic book store. I don't know. I don't honestly know, and I'm interested to know. So if a lot of homework in this episode for our poor readers, but if you know anything about any of this stuff that you can clarify, let me know. I would love to know if Pagan Publishing was advertising through partnership with Chaosium in some way.
Yeah, you know what we just did? We just sent our listeners and ourselves on a massive, massive Easter egg hunt, because it's going to bother us at our very cores. We're going to be wondering about it for days. So if you know, please put us out of our misery and just tell us. Or if you were involved in it, you're hearing this episode, be like, I know the answer. Please don't be shy about sharing that answer with us. Cool, man. So a couple other things. I figured, do you have any final thoughts on this before we start headed home?
No, not a single final thought. I got it all out.
Well, you do have something very cool to talk about, though, that you've mentioned in the Discord, and I think it's fair play to talk about now to the audience.
Yeah. So I've been talking to Joe Goodman at Goodman Games. He hit me up at Gen Con with this idea of it's their 25th anniversary next year, and he wants to do a history book. I am officially working on 25 years of Goodman Games, which is going to be a year-by-year history of Goodman Games, the company, which I've had 2 interview sessions with Joe, and I've already learned so many entertaining and interesting facts that really cut against my preconceptions about Goodman Games, Joe himself, and it has been very interesting and illuminating. And I think that if I didn't know these things, there's a good chance that y'all didn't know these things, and it's going to be a fun book.
You know what's going to happen though, right? You're finally going to have to cop to being an RPG historian. Begrudgingly, sure. But like, if you're like, well, he's an RPG historian, you're like, I'm not an RPG historian. Like, I think like once you write like the second historical book on RPGs, and then like once your monster book comes out, forget it. Like,
well, I don't think that any of those are history books, but this one is. I'm finally going to write a history book.
Well, yeah, I think loosely associated with history, I think works too. So you're going to be, the talking head. Oh, let's do Horvath.
Yeah,
RPG historian. Like, fine,
I'll take it. John Peterson was sort of busted my chops about that at Gen Con. He's just like, what? You're a historian. Just deal with it. Just like, stop.
Just own it. It's like, you look good in a bow tie. That's the only kind of haircut that looks fine on you. You just have to accept it sometimes. Yeah. As always, just a blast chatting with you. This is another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Stu, where can people find you on the internet?
They could find me on vintagerpg.com. I should mention that the book is going to be coming out. It's due in October of next year, and there will be a 25 years of Goodman Games crowdfunding thing that is going to. I don't know the specifics of it. That's really not my thing. But Joe has mentioned that he wants to do like a bunch of reprints and stuff in a box set with some special dice and stuff. That'll sort of is inspired by the silver anniversary box set from TSR.
Oh, love that!
So it feels like a really cool project, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And if you join the Patreon, I'll probably be nattering on about details as we go.
Very cool. Well, you can find me across the internet at John McGuire RPG, on the Instagram, on the Blue Sky. I've been posting a little more lately because I have things to post about, including on October 14th, Ham and Egg Publishing is launching another third-party adventure, this time for Sickest Witch RPG. It's called Under the Shadow of the Noonday Witch. It's written by Sally Canarino and Gio Colazzo. I'm along for the ride as well, but this is going to be really, really cool. You've heard us talk about Sickest Witch before. You heard me, or maybe you've seen me do interviews with Justin Sorois about Sickest Witch before. So we're really, really excited to bring a story to you that I think is really going to take advantage of the world and the gameplay style of Sickest Witch. So Sally and Gio are writing that. I'm along for the ride too. October 14th on Kickstarter. Definitely click the link anywhere you see my social media to get notified. Speaking of Patreon, patreon.com/vintagerpg. For as little as $1 a month, you get early release episodes unless we completely flake and forget to record them at some time on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. We have 2 tiers for playing games with Stu and I. At the $5 tier is my tier. I try to run a game a month. Usually about the stuff that we talk about on the show. And then I have an ongoing campaign for 1-900 Fantasy. It is pretty fun. We're going into, I think, the fourth or fifth week of it, but it's an ongoing correspond by email campaign that's been going pretty good. It's loose. It happens weekly, every week and a half, because I like to try to let people remember to check their emails and put their parts in before we keep moving on the story. But it's happening. It's fun. At the $10 tier, you can get it on my game and on Stu's legendary, deadly West Marches campaign, which is going on its 3rd year as well. You get some behind-the-scenes look at the stuff that we're working on. Patreon.com/vintagerpg. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor. Take care. Thanks for listening. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Schaefer Brown. Edited by R. Alex Murray. Check us out at vintagerpg.com.